It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Arkansas 52-7 winners over the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. We're going to talk about that. We're going to look ahead to Saturday's game, big game, against Arkansas State Red Wolves in Little Rock. Danny West going to join us, Connor Goodson, your questions as well. All that and more on today's episode of HawgSports Live. Crain Automotive team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a vehicle, the Crain Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to help you get back on the road and take care of your vehicle. Check them out at crainteam.com. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive team. Oops. Where are we going here?
There it is. That feeling of a big win. Yeah, that's you enjoying your moment because you just won big with the Crain team. Your perfect vehicle at the perfect price. You got Crain cash discounts and more than you ever dreamed for your Trey. Sure feels good, doesn't it? With 16 different locations around the state and every vehicle backed by the Crain commitment, we keep Arkansas moving. That's winning. That's the Crain team. Visit crainteam.com.
Want to mention also, HawgSports is 75% off. This ends on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, so if you want to get in for the number one independent source on Arkansas sports and recruiting, all our great coverage when it comes to the team coverage, recruiting, transfer portal, you name it, we've got it at HawgSports.com. Breaks down to 8 cents a day, 58 cents a week, $2.50 a month, billed at just $30 for the entire year. For the entire year, you can sign up for $30 at HawgSports.com. No promo code or anything like that. Just sign up and you'll get the deal. We finally got something new to talk about. You probably saw my off-the-cuff reaction in the walk and talk on Saturday. And, you know, now I've obviously had time to go back and watch the game and maybe have a few different opinions here and there on stuff. So just to kind of recap what happened, Arkansas obviously won 52-7. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And what I noticed on social media was people flipping the hell out over Arkansas's defense giving up that long drive. Understandably, why wouldn't you flip out? We've talked about that leading up to this whole season. Flip out, scream at your TV, take it out on me. A lot of people told me, Trey, you Kool-Aid sipper, why did you get me pumped up? You should be pumped up for football. I mean, you should. So, yes, it was not a good first impression from the Razorback defense. They did settle down, obviously. Kind of happened right about the time they had that long pass play. You had the double penalty, and after that, Arkansas's defense was pretty stout overall. There were some things that we wanted to see go differently, obviously. They held them to 235 yards. One of the things I wanted to see, 166 pass yards. One of the things I wanted to see was the rushing totals, and only held them to 69 yards, which is a good number. Held them to 69 yards, so that was positive, but wanted to see more pressure, more disruption from the front seven. I thought the secondary settled in pretty good after some issues early on, and some miscommunication and stuff like that. But I also know that, you know, Alabama A&M went over those same 7 plays a million times. You know, probably their first 15 plays usually scripted. So, but that's obviously not an excuse for a team that, you know, is a lot less talent overall. So, but Arkansas settled down. They started getting some more pressure. You know, even when they didn't get to the quarterback, they did get some pressure here and there and, you know, change his launch point and move him out of the pocket, stuff like that. And eventually got to him towards the end of the game. But we need to see more pressure from that front seven. Xavier Sori did not play a very good game. You look at Pro Football Focus, his grade was not very strong. Kobe Branham on the offensive line had a good game. Amarian Harris did not grade out as well. They mixed some things up on the offensive side at the right tackle and right guard. And Amarian also played a little bit of left guard when Fernando Carmona came out. So still kind of experimenting with some things there. And we'll see how that goes moving forward. But Taylor Green was fantastic, I thought. 24 of 31, 322 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 77% completion percentage, 228.5 rating. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback. Had to scramble some. Protection wasn't just great the whole time. There were some issues. The one issue that I took was, the sack that they had right before the field goal. You take a 43-yard field goal and you go to a 53-yard field goal, and to me, like, that's something that should have been a big focus all offseason, and then you take a 10-yard sack. That wasn't on Taylor Green. That was on Mike Washington. Mike Washington is supposed to pick up that blocker and go out. What I noticed from the A&M defense is they were bringing it. They would bring 8 sometimes. They would bring 8. So, like, when you're sitting there and you're complaining, like, the offensive line isn't picking up this blocker. I mean, when they bring 7 people, 6 people sometimes, you don't have enough people to block them. You just don't. You call to play. You've got people going out on pass routes and stuff. So, Taylor has to be quick and get the ball out to the appropriate receiver. So some of that, like, it looks like the offensive line isn't blocking well, but they were just bringing the house over and over again. I think that's really good for the Razorback offense to have so many different pressures coming at them. Even if it's against a team that, is inferior from a talent standpoint, you still get all those looks and should help them. But what Arkansas, I think, maybe took 2 sacks. That was a big one. That was probably the most disappointing play. And again, Mike, he went out for that pass, and he was supposed to stay in and block and then go out for the pass. But Taylor, I thought, played really well, had some really nice scrambles, had the one where I don't love extending the ball, but if you got to have it, then I guess you got to have it. But, he made a great play there. He made a couple other really nice runs. Thought it was really smart looking back, as Sam Pittman mentioned today, and we'll play a clip from Sam Pittman in just a little bit. Thought it was really smart with, 13 seconds or so to play, and I'm looking at it, it's like, just run it in, and he threw it, and I think did he hit Blake or did he hit Sharp or Brown? I can't remember. He hit so many touchdown passes, I can't remember the receiver he hit, but threw the touchdown pass, could have run it in, but it's actually smart for him not to run it in, because if he gets dropped short there, the time is ticking and you don't have any timeouts. So good on him to have the awareness to throw that ball there. Mike Washington had some good runs late. He had that 30-yard run. He had the 27-yard touchdown catch and run. Braylon was pretty steady. We didn't see anybody just pop off a super long run. Taylor had that 26-yard run. Washington had a 30-yard run. But, like, in the scrimmages, Washington's just been just like, 91-yard touchdown run, 60-yard touchdown run. We didn't really see that as much. KJ Jackson came in and performed well. As I mentioned in the walk and talk, I said over and over again, I don't have a grasp for this team, and I don't know what to expect. And I predicted them 52-10 in this game, and they won 52-7. And I said if disaster strikes, it would be 35-7 at halftime, and it was 31-7. So that's probably as close as I'm going to get all year on any kind of predictions. I was the only one on the HawgSports team that didn't have them covering. So Arkansas opens up this week. I believe it's so I heard 22 from one site. Bet Saracen has them at 23.5 right now. Arkansas minus 23.5. So let's go over the picks that we had real quick. So 23.5 last week. Bet Saracen, by the way, Arkansas's #1 betting app. Last week I went 4-2 on my picks. I had Auburn covering -2. They won 38-24 over Baylor. I had Texas beating Ohio State and covering the +1.5. They lost 14-7. I had LSU covering 3.5 points and beating Clemson. They won 17-10. I had Alabama covering 13.5 against Florida State. Alabama and Texas were the only SEC teams to lose this weekend, and Alabama lost 31-17. Somebody, I think it was Trey Shapp, told me that Nick Saban in games where he's favored by 14 points or more in Alabama, he's like 132-2 or something, 132-4, something like that. And Kalen DeBoer's already lost 4 games where they're favored by 14 or more. He's got to get it in gear. They're not going to stand for that in Tuscaloosa, but you love to see it. Love to see him down here with us. Not living up to expectations. The Vols, I had them at -13.5. I had them covering. They beat Syracuse 35-26, so we won that one. And then had Arkansas not covering The 46.5, I think it ended up at 47, but we got it at 46.5. Had them not covering Alabama A&M, and they won 52-7. So we got that one. So 4-2 on the picks on Bet Saracen, and we do the Wager Wagon every Thursday. So tune in for our picks at the Wager Wagon also, and download the Bet Saracen app as well. All right, let's check out what Sam Pittman had to say as he previewed Arkansas. Oh, happy Labor Day, everybody! As he previewed sports people, we don't take off on Labor Day. We got a lot of perks and stuff. Get to go to the games and all that stuff. But about the only day off you see is maybe Christmas, unless your team's playing that day. All right, here's Sam Pittman previewing Arkansas and Arkansas State, and looking back a little bit at the last game.
Going back and reviewing, watching the game from Saturday. Let's start offensively. I thought Taylor played really well. We had no turnovers. He took care of the ball, made a really good decision down there right before half. We had no timeouts. There was a potential he could run it in there, but we had no timeouts. If he didn't make it, linebacker was coming on him, coming to tackle him a little bit. He made a good decision to throw that one. I thought our offensive line, the 2 sacks were not on the offensive line. We had a mental error in the backfield on the first one. The second one we protected well. It was more of a coverage sack there. And it was really, really nice to end with 2 scores in a 4-minute span right before half, and then come out and have 2 3-and-outs defensively and score both times there. So I was pleased there offensively with all the different guys catching the ball, and then defensively we have to have more production out of our linebackers. We need to play better there. We need to play better on the D-line. We didn't have the production that we need there after the first drive. I thought our secondary settled in, and we had 6 missed assignments there early in the first drive, and then we cut a tight end loose in the second drive, and that was from the linebacker position as well. So we've got to get those things cleaned up, which they did during the game, but I thought our special teams played extremely well. No penalties in that group, which is hard to do any game, let alone the first game. So we did some things good with limiting penalties, and certainly threw and caught the ball and protected well. We've got a lot of work to do, which is good to win and have a lot of work to do.
Sam, earlier you mentioned that all the pressure is on Arkansas this week for this game, and it seems like it's a scenario where Arkansas State has everything to gain, nothing to lose, and maybe the vice versa for Arkansas. Why did you feel it was important to put Arkansas State on the schedule?
Well, I was asked, and to be honest with you, I was asked my first year here, and it was, we'd like for you to play Arkansas State in 2025 in Little Rock. And to be honest with you, I'd just gotten a job here, and I'd have played anybody. I was the head coach at Arkansas, and then it was 6 years away, and I'm like, well, if I'm still here, it'd be okay. But no, those are things. Most scheduling things are so far in advance, and you don't really know who you're. If you're scheduling this team at this time, they may be, especially now in the NIL era, the revenue sharing era, they may have changed totally, So, but I was asked, and I said, absolutely, that'd be good. And to be honest with you, I thought that it would be a lot of decisions you make are for the state of Arkansas. You want to make you do, and I know we let them down at times, and I know at times we make them happy. But I thought it would be good for the state if that happened, and so that's kind of why I said okay.
So, also want to mention special teams. great. I mean, like for a program like Arkansas, I always feel like you need to be good, really strong in special teams. Sometimes you might not have the best talent when you're in the SEC on offense or defense, but you need to be strong on special teams. 53-yard field goal. Great job, Scott Starzik. Devin Bell punted the ball really well both times he punted. Had that one that went out pretty short. Ashton No. How about Ashton No getting down, snapping the ball, going downfield and making the tackle inside the 10-yard line? I thought that was fantastic hustle from him. And everything else was pretty clean as far as special teams. Cam Shanks, maybe there was one punt you'd like to see him fair catch where he took a pretty good shot, but he held on to the ball at the same time. So to me, everything was pretty clean. I don't love bringing the ball out of the end zone on kickoffs, but the kickoffs were, I don't know if you could see on TV, they were a little low. He wasn't like getting a lot of air under it, and they were good returns. So overall, I would say great job by the special teams. Defense settled in, got off to a bad start. Again, the first impression, people are never going to let that go, just the way it is. Offense marched down the field. Second drive didn't go as smoothly because they ended up having to settle for that field goal. Taylor took a loss, and then that 10-yard loss, and then the offense was pretty solid the rest of the way. Just a couple punts, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought it was a good crowd for Alabama A&M for that type of team. Should be rocking in Little Rock. I think it's going to be a nice this could be the last game in Little Rock. And, you know, I've said before that I love Little Rock. I'm from that area. I grew up in North Little Rock and Sheridan. First games for years were Little Rock games. I didn't even go to a Fayetteville game. I think I was actually remembering wrong because I did go in junior high. Maybe I was in ninth grade, but I did go see Arkansas play Georgia in Fayetteville, and then didn't see them again until 95 when they played Tennessee. So my memories of Arkansas are all Little Rock games. We were talking with Sam Pittman about some after the press conference, and he was talking about the Georgia game when they played there and said, you know, Todd Gurley was out because Todd Gurley had signed a couple of jerseys and made like $300. Suspended for the game because of it. Like, that's crazy now. And so he was like, okay, well, Gurley's out. That's good for us. And there was this kid named Nick Chubb, who was a freshman that year. And Sam said he'd never seen anybody that big and that fast run past him before. And he said when he got to Georgia, everybody heard him like, everybody was like, yeah, we heard you yelling the whole time at the offensive line because they couldn't stop Floyd at defensive end. Thought that was pretty interesting insight from him. But, yeah, so, I mean, I think of some of the games have been both Miracle and Markham. Kevin Bohannon was talking today on his breakdown, on his advanced look about the games that he remembered there. But I went to Arkansas's first SEC game against Alabama in 1992 in Little Rock. Just a lot of I saw him play Miami there when I was in junior high. Just a lot of good memories of Arkansas playing games in War Memorial, and I wonder if this is the last one. And you know what? It should be. I've always said it shouldn't be. Like, I like the games there, but it's past. It has not kept up with the times. The Fayetteville Stadium's so much nicer. All the games are on TV, on HD, you know, some in 4K. It's just the times have changed. Nobody else is doing that across the conference. Teams that, you know, used to play in Jackson, Mississippi don't do that, or played in Birmingham, Alabama don't do that anymore. Arkansas is the last one that's doing that, aside from Texas and Oklahoma. Okay, we're going to go to Connor, get his insight on the game and what's coming up. I would like to tell you about our people over at Ozarks Go, though. If you live in Northwest Arkansas, parts of Oklahoma, north of the tunnel, and you don't have Ozarks Go, you should check them out because it is fast, reliable internet. I've never had to unplug and replug my router. It's a local company, so when you call them at 479-684-4900, you'll talk to somebody local. You can also reach to them at ozarksgo.net/hog. That's HAWG. I mean, I give it my stamp of approval. I've been using them for 4 years, and I've never had an outage. Period. Let's ask Connor Goodson if he's ever had an outage. Connor, you ever had an outage with your internet?
Unfortunately, too many. Too many to count.
You got Ozarks Go?
I do not have Ozarks Go.
Yeah, I figured. So, Connor, you were at the game with me Saturday. Just your quick takeaways on what you thought and maybe what you'd like to see this week.
Well, I mean, my thoughts followed the same kind of script that, I mean, we've heard from you guys. What Kevin, I thought, had a really good breakdown as well on his Sunday Rewind. I thought Taylor Green looked like an improved quarterback. In fall camp, I had a write-up of going back to Bobby Petrino's different quarterbacks he's had through his career for 2 years, and they've all taken big leaps forward. And Taylor Green on Saturday showed that he was, a little bit more accurate, had way more command than I thought last year. So really looked the part of a guy that could really be a problem this year, as long as he kind of, decreases the unnecessary hits that he takes. I think that was something I didn't like. He took way too many hits. How about Scott Starzik? I don't know if you've talked about him much today, but true freshman getting in there, drilling a 53-yarder, and the situation he came into was a little, it wasn't the easiest of situations. It's a tie game. Crowd got a little uneasy. I thought that really impressed me. So I want to give him his flowers. And then, of course, the defense, there's still a lot of questions and concerns there, especially up front, that, we had in fall camp and we'll continue to have.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts up front with the defense, so it's going to affect every single group. I'm not so sure early on that first drive that was the defense's fault. I felt like the secondary probably had some miscommunication and some other issues, but they seem to get it settled down. A couple of things that I didn't see, Connor, that I asked Sam Pittman about today. Like, if you'd have told me that there were 10 guys that were going to catch a pass and Rohan Jones wasn't one of them, that would have stunned me. And I remember Sam saying in the scrimmages that they were having to make sure that they found ways to get both Omega Blake and Rohan Jones the ball, because Omega Blake had a scrimmage where he didn't have a very productive day, and that was a focus. So to not see him record a single catch, I thought was really surprising. I think he can be a weapon for them. So that was surprising. And then, they're talking about different things. Like, they really like what Caleb Wooden did. They really like what Shakir Smalls did in the time that he was in there. And, Pittman had kind of said, they'd like to find one spot for Larry Worth. Larry can line up at money linebacker. He can be the hog/nickel. He can play, either safety spot. They like him more as the middle safety. But those two guys, what are your thoughts on just some of the personnel, how they use things versus maybe what you expected going in?
Yeah, I thought, going back to your point on Rohan Jones, it may just be that this version of Bobby Petrino is probably not going to utilize tight ends much in the passing game, I guess. Because I feel like we heard all last year how we need to get Luke Has more targets. We need to get him more involved in the passing game. That never really came to fruition. And now you see, obviously, it's one game. They have 11 more opportunities to get guys like Rohan Jones. But to your point, I was kind of shocked to not see him more involved in the passing game. And like you said, I thought it was a great question. You told Sam Pittman if there's 10 guys that caught a pass, you would have expected Rohan Jones. I'm right there with you. I would have expected him to have really had a good, a really solid day. But on the defensive side, I kind of leaned over to you after Smalls. He had that strip sack, and then he clobbered some other dude out of nowhere. I think it was their third string running back was kind of held up, and he came out of nowhere and nailed the dude. And I was like, Smalls, I don't know technique wise if he's the best, but I mean, he's not afraid to lay the wood. So I think Smalls may have played himself into the rotation a little bit too. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with A-State coming into town. And Pittman talked about Rayner. He's a bad dude back there. They're going to really have to play some sound football up front on the defensive line, I think, and keep him in check.
Yeah, I just don't know what they're going to do with Worth exactly, because Pittman said he doesn't feel like he's the boundary guy and thinks he's the middle. So to me, that would mean Caleb Wooden's not a boundary. No. I don't think of him as a boundary. I think of Worth as a boundary, and is Miguel Mitchell the boundary? He's been playing more of the field, so I just don't know where they're going to go. But sometimes Sam Pittman isn't the best to ask, because he does lean on the coordinators a lot. So if we could talk to Travis Williams, maybe we would get a better idea. But you touched on Arkansas State a little bit, Connor. I'm wondering, last year. We always have to bring this up because of Little Rock, something always happens. Last year, the AC went out, and, I don't know what it was like in every bathroom, but our bathroom had no water. So, toilets are filled to the brim with urine, and people are dropping deuces on top of deuces. It was not pretty. It's always something in Little Rock. I mean, whether it's no water or no air conditioning, the play clock doesn't work. They keep time on the field. The internet stops working. The parking lot gets completely full because they just haphazardly parked everybody and didn't, because they don't ever do it. Last year, I wasn't allowed access to my parking spot that I've gone to for 20 years and had to have a conversation and talk. And, police officer was nice about it, but it's just, it's just always something in Little Rock.
Yeah. And it sucks because I know you were talking about it before I came on, just your memories of growing up and going to War Memorial games. And that was like my whole childhood. My parents had season tickets when I was younger, and one of the opposite end zone from where DeCorey Birmingham caught the Miracle on Markham catch. And so, my whole childhood was going to Little Rock games and loving Little Rock games. I remember the shirts that they used to make where it was Houston Nutt undefeated in the Rock, when he went on that crazy win streak to start his coaching tenure. And it just felt like it was an unfair advantage. And to see it lose its luster, and for my first experience there covering a game to be like it was with no AC, no running water. It was kind of one of those moments where you're like, I think it's run its course. It used to be great. It's not what it used to be. It's kind of outlived its welcome, I think. And it's more of a nuisance. You even heard it in Sam Pittman's, comments today saying, it's closer to Jonesboro than it is Little Rock. It just feels like it's a nuisance more than it is an advantage like it used to be. So, even a guy from Central Arkansas who loves it, it holds a special place in my heart. I'm kind of ready to, see it go and get another Fayetteville game on the schedule.
Yep. What are your thoughts about this matchup coming up, Connor?
I think that, like I said, Jalen Rayner presents.
And do you like 23.5 points?
I like. That's tough to say. I don't know. I haven't gotten into the weeds this matchup to really feel. I don't know. After my gut after last week says that Arkansas doesn't cover again. I think that ASU, Arkansas may get up like 3 possessions, but ASU comes back and makes it look a little bit closer than it was, towards the end. Just because I really like Jalen Rayner, and I'm not just saying that because I played with him on NCAA 26 and he's a weapon there. But he's a really good cat. He's experienced. And I think Butch Jones has done a really good job of giving him weapons around him that really fit his play style and can really help him, be explosive and lead an explosive offense. Arkansas, again, though, this week, they have the talent advantage. We know that. These first 2 weeks was all about the talent advantage. They just have to take care of business and not have mental errors like they had the first couple of drives on defense last week and on offense a few times this. They're towards the middle of the first half before they really kind of got it in gear. I think that as long as they can keep it clean and just play up to their potential, then it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be a fourth quarter close deciding game.
All right, Connor, good stuff. Appreciate you, man. See you Saturday in Little Rock.
Sounds good.
All right, appreciate everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Be sure to follow Connor at Connor Goodson on X. Yeah, CONNOR Goodson. So just a quick look at Arkansas State real quick. It's, they beat Southeast Missouri State Red Hawks on Saturday, 42-24. Raynor was 26 of 32 passing, 345 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he was very efficient. They've got a receiver in Jaquez Cross who was at ASU, then transferred to Purdue, caught a ton of passes, and then transferred to Purdue and only caught 2 passes or something, and then transferred back, and he's one of the all-time best receivers in Sun Belt Conference history. They tried to get them the ball. He had 8 catches, he only had 36 yards and a touchdown. But they got a few weapons. Raynor is going to be a challenge. This isn't going to be like anybody who's thinking that Arkansas should just clobber these guys, like they did UAPB or like they did Alabama A&M, I think is going to be disappointed with the performance. I think obviously Arkansas is going to win the game. I think it could be a challenge for a little bit. I think that Arkansas State is going to be up for this. Now, if you look at the ASU roster, you think well, there's just a ton of Arkansas people, Arkansas players that got rejected from Arkansas, and now they're at Arkansas. Those times have kind of passed. There are 11 players on the entire roster. They got like 70 new players on the whole roster. There's 11 players from the state of Arkansas, and I'm not even sure if all those guys or any of them play. So it may be to the fans, that kind of mindset, but I don't know if it is to the players, maybe to the coaches. Butch Jones is over there. He's in his, 5th or 6th year at Arkansas State. I can remember when he was at Tennessee, of course. There was a brief overlap with Sam Pittman when the staff was fired at Tennessee, and Butch Jones came in, and he was there for a couple of days. Had a meeting with him and all that stuff, but Butch was bringing his offensive line coach from Cincinnati, and Sam ended up getting the job at Arkansas. So there's a brief overlap, and they obviously run into each other since they're in the same state. Butch Jones always makes me think of the quintessential robotic football coach. He's got slogans like brick by brick. That was a big slogan one year at Tennessee. And I'm just thinking, come up with something more cliche and generic. His interviews were always just so dry and just nothing, no substance, just coach speak. So I always thought it must be tough for the Tennessee fans to cover Butch Jones. Of course, after he got fired at Tennessee, he went to the Alabama rehab program under Nick Saban and eventually got the Arkansas State job. So this will be interesting. It'll be an interesting matchup. It's never happened before. Frank Broyles was not a fan of incorporating this game, and obviously it was scheduled 6 years ago, so we're finally here. And we knew this was going to happen. Anytime like there's something new, like that's like, the college football playoff expanding, like we all knew that was going to happen. It's just like we're going to ease you into it a little bit. So like when Arkansas played UALR or UAPB, it was just like, well, they're in the University of Arkansas system. They're a system school, so it's a little different because Arkansas State's not in the system. I mean, come on. That was just step one of getting to playing Arkansas State. Okay, we're going to bring in Danny West, get his insight on the game. First, I would like to tell you about our friends over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, which is proud. I don't know if you were at the game Saturday. If you were at the game, you probably saw them on the big screen and everything because they are the official jeweler of the Razorbacks and are thrilled to support the team. And that includes providing beautifully crafted pieces for the U of A homecoming court. Built on tradition since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. Visit them at their brand new location, 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway, Rogers, Arkansas 72758. It's a big, beautiful store. If you haven't been there, it's something else. I don't know if there's anything like it in the entire state of Arkansas. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, where Arkansas gets engaged. Danny?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, bud?
You caught me sleeping there. What's going on?
Nothing. I mean, we're in football season, and we're already in week 2. It feels like it took 10 years to get here, and suddenly we're heading into week 2, and before you know it, it's going to be week 8. Hopefully. I said, the other day, like if Arkansas is good, then it's going to just fly by, Mm-hmm. It feels like it's taken 10 years to get here, but the season will just fly by. If they're bad, it'll feel like it takes 10 years to get the season over with.
That's how it goes, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of the game Saturday?
Yeah. You want to talk about the game first, or recruiting, or what you got?
I want to get your thoughts on what you saw. Just get a third perspective on what you saw.
Sure. Yeah, I got a few notes written down here, Biddy, but I love the and I want to start with it. CJ Brown, obviously. I felt like, he was going to have a good game, and he did, and he deserved it. He's had a tough go of it, and to see Cam Ball too, go out there. I thought he had a beautiful TFL. That's a highlight type play there. But everybody's talking about the lack of drops, by the receivers. Biddy, I'm more excited about the yards after catch than anything. I thought they, we talk about it all the time, buddy. You got to have the hidden yardage. Especially when you're kind of on the cusp a little bit, kind of on the fringe of, 500 type ball, you look for stuff like that. And I was impressed with the yak, especially with Blake. I went down and saw you a couple of weeks ago, and one of my observations from that practice was Blake looked a little more, he's not huge, but he had a little more beef about him than I remembered as a recruit. So that was good to see. I think that's a strong looking group. And then later on in the game, I like seeing the true freshmen out there. Reggie Vaughn and KO got in the game. And, that's the biggest question for us, Trey, going back all year, ain't it? So defensive line, that was a positive to see. And then Talon, of course, he was just lights out. That's what you would expect to see. I'm not going to freak out about the first couple of defensive drives, honestly. I mean,
why not?
Why not? Because they've had all summer too. It's scripted. It's all, we see it all the time across college football. Those first couple can fool you. And I'm not saying there's nothing to worry about. There probably is. At some point, this defense is going to probably really disappoint you and frustrate you. But that's just football in 2025. So I'm not too concerned about it. I will be if they do it again this week.
One of our posters said something like, "What is Trey and the other insiders looking at? To tell us this defense is going to be decent." I was just like, "Where?"
Man.
It's amazing. Like as much as I try to be clear, and he's like, what you've been to the scrimmages? What did you, all this? I was like, no, they actually didn't let us go to any scrimmages after
true.
the spring anyway.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know what you're saying, but there were people that's like, mad at everybody, and I love that. I love that you're pissed off that they marched down on the field on the defense, and your reaction is a dramatic overreaction that is just going to be Swiss cheese and they're just going to be terrible, and then they end up, of course, giving up 7 points. And I think you make a good point too, Danny, that there's going to be times this season where that defense is going to really disappoint people. I don't think it was that game necessarily because they only gave up 7, only gave up 69 rushing yards. But let's see how they do against Ole Miss this year. Let's see how they do against Notre Dame. Those are going to be really big challenges. And what I have said, and what I'll continue to say, is I think you could see some fairly high-scoring games this season with the Arkansas offense and the Arkansas defense giving up some points. Agree
with you on that. You brought up a good point in the press conference. It has been a trend, the slow start defensively for Arkansas. And I think about that Ole Miss game. You go down there, buddy, and have a slow start,
they'll eat you
good
alive.
luck. I mean, they put 63 on you last year, and they can do it again down at their place. So that slow start's got to go, but I'm not going to freak out about it just yet.
Yeah.
But good observation by you, because that is a trend. I went back and read some of your, not scrimmage, but I guess scrimmage recaps that you weren't able to see, but seemed like a trend there. That's starting to become a little worrisome.
The number one defense played the number 2 offense, and the number 2 offense marched down the field on them on the first drive and scored. Cam Settle scored a touchdown. It was scrimmage 1. And then number 1 defense was lights out the rest of the way, same as they were in the game. The second scrimmage, 63-yard touchdown pass to Monte Harrison on the first drive. Lights out the rest of the scrimmage. Saturday, 7 plays, 75 yards, never saw a third down.
Looked
Lights
lost.
out the rest of the scrimmage. Yep, that's it. That's called a trend. That's called a streak.
Yeah.
What's going on in recruiting? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, recruiting. You said something a minute ago about how quickly the season's just like that, and I was thinking about that when I was writing about this kid last night. Josiah Steen out of Warren, Arkansas, another Warren prospect here, Trey. 2027 wide receiver, 15 catches for 222 yards and 3 touchdowns in week 1 last Friday night. He wakes up, he goes to Fayetteville the next day for the opener, had another great visit. And, it's funny looking at some of these guys that come through Warren, man. We all know Traylon was a mystery guy, not a big talker. It seemed like AJ Antonio up until his senior year, kind of the same trend. And then you got guys like Steen and Bubba Miller that they'll play the game a little bit, So it's fun always catching up with Josiah. He had another really good visit, and 5'11", 170, again, a 2027. So just a junior right now, Trey, but I think Fouch has done a really good job here. And going back to the original point, it'll be here before you know it. The season's going to be gone, and next thing you know, we'll be in portal period and coming out of that, you got 27s that's going to be making decisions, and it wouldn't shock me if Josiah and maybe even a guy like Will Caston, obvious connections with Arkansas. It wouldn't shock me to see those guys jump relatively early and try to give you some more momentum. We're aware of Bradley Sturdivant down in Sheridan. Obviously, he got it kind of kicked off within the state, but those are two there that I think you got to target them as early as possible and try to get them on board.
Yeah, so we're back in the evaluation period time, September 1st, and Arkansas can have visitors for this Arkansas State game. We talk about some of the negatives of playing in Arkansas, and this has always been one of them. Yes, you can invite recruits to the game. You can't talk to them. You can't show them around campus. You can't let them talk to a professor or any of that kind of stuff. So but you can have them there.
You can leave a ticket at will call, and that's it. So I hope they go, but there's just not a whole lot to it, Betty. So you heard Coach talk about it today, and I kind of agree with it. I see everything through a recruiting lens anyway, but especially from a recruiting standpoint, I don't think it's going to kill your program to play once a year down there. But when you're doubling up and you're also going off campus, and Arkansas plays these funky games, and they tend to double them up in the same year. You can't keep doing that. And I don't think they're ever going to straight up lose one to ASU. Knock on wood, you never know. But I don't think playing it there is going to kill them. But just the idea of the continuation that they keep doing this over and over, it's got to drive Pittman nuts. And I think you heard his frustration a little bit there today when he said, I don't see basically a single advantage of playing those guys over there.
Aside from the idea of, people being able to come to the game from different parts of the state where it's difficult, it's expensive to go to Fayetteville games. So there is that. But as far as the team goes, Danny,
mailbox.
Do what?
It's expensive to go to the mailbox anymore, Biddy.
Oh, shoot, yeah. You dread what you find in the mailbox. But it's as far as the team goes, like not the program overall, the scope of the program, but like the individual year for the individual team, it's not good for Arkansas. It hasn't been good for them to go to Arlington. It's not good for them to go to Little Rock. It's not best for the team. It's just not. So anyway, I hate saying that because I've already explained that. Like, that's where I grew up going to games. I mean, you're from Rising. I'm sure those were games you went to.
Yeah, my first one I want to say was in Little Rock. I want to say Vanderbilt, maybe 1994. Arkansas won that one. I think they beat them up pretty good that year. But I want to say my first one in Fayetteville was 93, and then went to the Rock in 94. So maybe I had that backwards.
Yeah, there's something else I wanted to ask you, Danny, and I can't even remember what I was thinking, but I guess we'll save it for another show.
Well, if you think of it later, just call me.
All right. I got your number.
You got it.
All right, buddy. Well, appreciate you hopping on. Anything else you want to add before you head out?
Yeah, I do. I do want to say condolences to the family of Coach Mark Freer down at Rising. Or Malvern. He went over to Malvern and coached, but he coached us at Rising, and a good dude. Just thinking about him and hate that for his family.
Yeah, sorry to hear that, Danny.
Yep.
But I appreciate you hopping on with us and sharing your insight on recruiting and the game and everything like that. So
you got it, buddy.
All right, appreciate you. All right, everybody. It's Danny West. Follow him at Danny West 24/7 on X, HawgSports recruiting analyst, and obviously does a fantastic job. Most of his content is VIP, so you need to sign up for 75% off. Again, $30 for the entire year. Sign up at HawgSports.com. We're going to get to, what's the next thing on the docket? Some questions. This list of questions is presented to you by Walker Brothers. You can visit them at their new store in Rogers, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101. Fine men's clothing, suits. They get you, you wouldn't believe what they've got back there. They get you with a tailor, get you fitted up for a suit. They've got tons of like golf polos and, dress shirts. I really like the Faraday brand. As I mentioned several times, I have probably 7 or 8 shirts from Faraday, maybe more shirts from Faraday. Recently bought a bunch of Peter Millar stuff from there because I needed some new golf shirts. They've got the Peter Millar with the curly tail logo. That's with the Crazy Hog logo. That's the Peter Millar. The Walker Brothers does the curly tail with the hog with the curly tail on them. You can get them on shirts like Peter Millar, Johnny O, Horn Legend, Divot Sportswear. A lot of different things to check out. So you've got to go check this store out. You wouldn't believe how nice it is, and there's nothing like it. I know in Northwest Arkansas and probably the rest of Arkansas. Of course, their store in Fayetteville has been in the same spot for a number of years. It's a great place, great location. Also, 577 Millsap Road, suite number 6. Go dress like a grown-up. Go to Walker Brothers. You'll be glad you did. Huge, huge family of hog fans. Huge hog fans. So know that too. People from Fayetteville. People I've known for a long time. Walker Brothers. Check them out. Okay, questions. I had something that I wanted to ask Danny, and I forgot what it was, and it's driving me a little crazy, and I know it's going to, as soon as I end the show, I'm going to think of it. I don't have questions pulled up. Oh, you know what I was going to talk about? This is what it was. Not firing Sam Pittman before this season, because we talked about all the things that, like, going into last year, I felt like, 8 games probably, would solidify the job. I didn't think 6 would be enough to retain Sam Pittman. I didn't think that was going to be the standard, and it was. And I think a lot of reasons for that. The climate that we're in college football, firing your coach, paying big buyouts, and as we saw this offseason, they fired like 18 people at the University of Arkansas, including Kevin Trainor, who's been there forever, because they had to clear a way to carve out $20.5 million to pay players with as part of revenue sharing. So it didn't make a lot of sense, and we saw this throughout the country. Teams that maybe otherwise would have had a coaching change didn't, because of they needed to save money for revenue sharing. So that's kind of, I think, what we saw with Arkansas. Another thing that's important about keeping this staff together, playing this Arkansas State game. Here's what happens, and you can point to Indiana as the one outlier program, because everybody else who fired their coach the year before and had a brand new coach last year, everybody else sucked across college football, and it's because of the way the calendar shapes up. You're going to lose all your recruits because of the early signing period. You're not going to have time to build a recruiting class because you can basically only recruit in the late period, and there's a low number of players available in that regular signing period now. So your recruiting class is going to suck right out of the gate. You're going to lose all your good players off your team in the transfer portal, because the transfer portal, they're going to leave and go sign somewhere else before you even hire a coach, because of the calendar, how that shapes up. So you're going to lose all these players. And guess what? Who do you have to pick from? Because all the good players decide early where they're going to go. The best players, like you look at Arkansas's roster, like you can tell the guys that were good players are the first ones that left. And then it's just like kind of a trickle. The first ones that leave, first 7, 8, 10 or so that leave, are the best players. So you're going to lose all your good players. You're not going to have an opportunity to get players in, and then you have a crappy team. And that's just the way it's going to be. Like whenever Arkansas has a coaching change, if Sam, in a manner of Sam Pittman getting fired, it's going to be very difficult with this calendar to produce a good product the next year. It just is. It can happen. Indiana's the example. He brought a bunch of his players from his previous school, and maybe something like that would happen. But playing this Arkansas State game this year, if you had fired Sam Pittman and you had all that turnover, and Arkansas State's not a bad team, you're a real risk. I mean, you're at risk anyway playing anybody, but you're at real risk of dropping that game. And I'm telling you, you lose to Arkansas State, it's an awful, awful, awful look. It's an awful look for this program, avoiding them all these years, and then you play them and you get beat. You can't have that happen. You just can't. So I think that probably played a little bit of a role. I mean, how does like Hunter Yurachek look if he schedules Arkansas State, Sam Pittman gets fired, the roster becomes what it would be, and you lose to Arkansas State in like the only time you play them. I mean, that would be tough. That would be tough to survive for a coach, for an AD. It just would be. Okay, questions. Where are my questions? Oh, there they are. You talk about a wild walk and talk. If, if something goes wrong and they lose this Arkansas State game, I don't even want to think about it. Hogs Jacket 1 says, what do you think of the defense after your rewatch? I think there were times where they got pressure and didn't quite get to him, you know. There were times where they only brought 4 and got to him. But the first impression was bad, obviously. But they did settle down and played better. I saw one guy was like, this is what you get when you play 10 yards off the ball. Like, I'm looking out there, and sure, they mixed in some zone and stuff, but most of the time they're pressing. They're right up on those receivers. I don't know. I thought the defense played okay. I think they played about like I expect. I didn't expect them to just get marched on right out of the gate. But aside from that, they played about like I expected them to play. Not great pressure. Now, Cam Ball, I thought, played pretty well. Like, you can go watch Cam Ball. He's explosive off the line of scrimmage. Xavier Sword did not have a very good game. Just didn't. Pro Football Focus even says so. Like, he didn't grade out very well. You got to get better play from your front seven than they had as we move forward. That's fine for Alabama A&M. You got to have better play this week against Arkansas State. I think we're going to see that. And then, you know, moving forward, they need to, like, if Arkansas is going to be the team that wins 8 games and not the team that wins 4 games, this defense has got to play above what I think it can be and probably what you think it can be. It's got to play above that. SoCal Hog 100 says, how did our O-line grade out in game 1? Did anyone or any combination surprise, better or worse? Why did we not see more of the backup quarterbacks? Do we need to see 3 quarters of Taylor Green? Just a matter of wanting to pass? No, I don't think it was. Now, I will say this. I thought he was going to come out when he was at 299 yards. And I was like, let him get 300 passing yards. But I thought he was going to come out then. We saw about what you would expect to see. I mean, it was 31-7 at halftime. That is not – the game isn't put away at that point. That's not let's throw all our backups in. When you get like, you know, 42 points or something, okay, it's over. Like, let's put the backups in. I don't care what point you are in the game, and let's get out of there. So this was not UAPB. And I think a lot of people were going in thinking 70-0 like they did last year, scoring on every single possession. But this was not UAPB. And this was not a team. This is the worst team Arkansas is going to play all year, obviously, but it's not UAPB either. And so I think getting to see KJ Jackson for an entire quarter was definitely positive and about what you want to see. And they did what I thought they were going to do, basically. I mean, I thought it would be 35-7 at halftime. And, you know, you come out and you put another score on the board with the first team offense, then it's time to get them out. But that's not what happened. It was 31-7, so you needed a couple more scores, which they got, and then brought in KJ Jackson when it was, 45-7. So about like what I expected. It's very rare that you get to see 3 quarterbacks, but, you know, you did. So did you need to see 3 quarters of talent? Yeah, I mean, I think that was about right. Plus, you also have to consider this is their first game. You know, it's their first opportunity to be out there against another opponent. Let them get some work. Let them get some work in the game. C. Shane 44 says, your biggest glow and your biggest grow of the game. I really like seeing Scott Saracen hit that 53-yard field goal. That's up there. He asked about combination too on the previous question about the offensive line. I think eventually we're going to see Shaq McCroy at right tackle. I just think that's going to happen at some point. And guard, I don't know if that's going to be Amarian or if it's going to be Kobe Branham, but I kind of think it's going to be the Lake Show, Kobe and Shaq, eventually, where Amarian can play Amarian played 3 positions Saturday. That's kind of what I see is going to happen eventually. Amarian didn't grade out great, according to Pro Football Focus, and Kobe Branham did, for those wondering. That's the only 2 that I know. I was just talking to somebody about it. So biggest glow, let's go Taylon Green and the receivers, C.J. Brown, Omega Blake. Those 2 receivers definitely stood out. Jaylen Brown had some moments too. Sharp did. I mean, 10 people caught passes. My biggest grow, I would like to see Rohan Jones get more involved on offense. I would like to see better pressure from the defensive line, the front 7 entirely. Because, I mean, they do a lot of things where they move linebackers down the line of scrimmage and bring them stuff too. It's not just the D-line. But I would say that. I'd like to see more from this defensive line. And the defensive front overall. What did I think of some of the young D linemen like Reginald Vaughn? I did not watch the last little bit of the game. Something came up, and I actually have not finished the last half of the third quarter. I can tell you what I have seen from Reginald Vaughn is he's got the size, like out of all 3 of those freshman defensive tackles, Kevin Otis, Reginald Vaughn, and Caleb Bell. Vaughn is the big, even though they're all listed pretty similar, Vaughn's the biggest one of those guys. I don't think ideally you rely on those freshman defensive linemen. I know what Sam Pittman said today, but when you're getting an SEC play, there's just a difference in strength a lot of times when you're they need to get David Oki back, and hopefully he'll be back by Ole Miss. It's just a possibility, but it seems like a long shot. Just a comment, not sure how good the secondary is just yet, but they seem pretty physical and unafraid to stick their noses in there, which I like a lot. I thought Larry Worth played pretty well. Again, played a lot of different positions. Julian Neal got off to a really slow start. It seemed like 23 was in the frame over and over and over again on that first drive. But he brought it in, played a little bit better. We'll see. Has War Memorial updated the turf last few times we played there? Seems to always get a starter injured. I don't say that. I don't know. I don't know when they might have updated that turf. There's not a lot of action on that turf. Hogtalica says, let's imagine your Arkansas head football coach. Describe in detail how you would approach the A-State game this week. What would your message be to the team? And if it's decided, well, mainly I would probably try to make it personal. Start with maybe how you played in the Alabama A&M game, what needs to be corrected, and just the importance of this game from a historic standpoint. Like, these guys have been clamoring to play Arkansas for years and years and years. Calling Arkansas, saying they're dodging you, saying you won't play them. I would try to make it very personal to a lot of the players. For Taylon, I would just, go out and play your game. I felt like Taylon tried to press a little bit last year against UAB, wanting to play, in Fayetteville in front of the home crowd for the first time, wanting to do a lot of stuff and play it, try to, you got to do your job, as the saying goes. Do your job. By the way, we'll see North Carolina and TCU tonight. Bill Belichick, I believe he created that. Do your job. Don't try to do more. Definitely don't do less. Do your job. But also, you need to come out and put it on these guys. March down their throat. Show them what Arkansas is about. Shut up all these Arkansas State fans. I would show them anything that I could do to make it personal. That's what I would do. Maybe also hint that, this could be the last game in Little Rock ever. Burkus Maximus says, Trey, do you see anything Saturday to change your previous opinion that the tight end group was unimpressive overall? Platt looked like he could be a beast, and Paskey, Poshka each had a nice catch. I always enjoy hearing your take. Appreciate you. I like those 3 tight ends fine. Poshka, if he can be a guy that can catch the ball and make plays in the end zone, then that's great. I know he's physical. I just don't – he's not a guy that's going to stretch the field. I've seen them, in practice, try to throw – medium, deeper passes to him, and he just seems to struggle. Short stuff, he usually does fine. Jaden Platt was very highly recruited. I don't see an overall. I don't know. I don't feel like. I guess I'm used to Arkansas tight end group just having a couple of NFL players and like 7 of them, and there's like 3, or 4. Garrettson is a freshman, and I guess Maddox Laster, but he's more of a fullback type, former walk-on. And I like Rohan Jones a lot. I don't know why we did not see him very much. And he started the game. They came out in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. And he started the game, and then he went straight to the sideline. They brought in Jalen Brown. And he played. I just don't know that he played that much. And the coaches, I'll say this, the coaches really like the tight ends. They talk about how much they like them. So I would take that more than my opinion. Hogzilla's Tebow, because, and I'm not, and obviously they're going to say everybody's doing great and that kind of stuff, but they bring up the tight ends really unprompted a lot of times. Hogzilla Tebow. I'm Tebow. Love that Tebow. Because who from accounting is Tebow? Did we avoid man defense to keep it off film, or did the coaches not trust the corners? They didn't. They ran man defense. They ran man and zone. No question. I'm just glad we're about to be done playing War Memorial, says Cody. Yep. Frank Broyles, the user Frank Broyles, is it safe to say ASU is Pittman's least favorite game on the schedule? I mean, he could not look more annoyed that he has to play it. Well, he said at SEC Media Days that if they play Arkansas State again, he wants to play in Fayetteville. He doesn't know why they need to play in Little Rock. And he's right. Why is this being treated like some special neutral site game against Arkansas State as if they're equals? Arkansas State, all due respect, is not Arkansas's equal. They're not. Most people I could ask in this state to tell me 5 players on Arkansas State's roster, they're not going to be able to tell me. But most anybody, even Arkansas State fans, I could ask them to tell me about, and I don't mean that as disrespect. It's just one is an SEC program and historically the program in the state of Arkansas, and one isn't. It's a distant second. I don't mean that as anything disrespect. I just mean it's just factual, and I think you know that too. I know there's Arkansas State fans listening, but I don't mean that in any disrespect. But the fact that they're playing this game in the fact that they're playing Arkansas State in a neutral site, technically home away from home, but it's closer to Jonesboro than it is Fayetteville, is to me a little ridiculous. And the fact that they are playing, but also I don't want to see them open up the season against Alabama A&M in Little Rock. That game, you need to open the season at your home venue, either against a easy win like Alabama A&M was, or against a major conference team, or play at a neutral site against a major conference team, or at their place in some kind of home-and-home situation. That's how you open a season up, not at a neutral site against Alabama A&M like they've done the last 2 years. So, but if they play Arkansas State again, that should be a home game for Arkansas. The fact that they're playing at Memphis just makes my skin crawl. I saw Mississippi State playing at Southern Miss over the weekend. I'm just like, what are you doing? This is not how you behave. That is beneath you. That is beneath Mississippi State, and it's beneath Arkansas. It just is. Playing at Memphis is beneath Arkansas. I'm sorry, it is. It says to me, it's like, well, we're poor. We're a poor program, and we don't want to pay these guys. I guarantee you're not going to see Ohio State play at Ohio ever, or at Central Michigan. I'm not saying Arkansas is on Ohio State's level. I'm just saying, to me, it's like we're poor. We need to save this money because we'll do this deal with you. Okay, you can come to our place twice, and we'll go to your place once. That feels beneath you. I don't like it. I never have. Gallant Knight says, what do you think about what do you think about requiring the head coach to play 40 games of NCAA in the offseason to help with clock management? I'm convinced fans are better than coaches at clock management solely due to playing the video games. Yes, the double-edged sword of playing the video game is I think we live in a restart society, and fans think that, you should be able to execute the game plan like video games, and that's obviously not the same thing. But that's funny. I mean, I think that we are in an era of coaches or coming to it, I guess. We should be in it. I mean, I grew up playing video games. I'm 47 years old. When I was a kid, we had a Nintendo. I remember I had a Sega Genesis, and I played Joe Montana Sports Talk football. You could run that fake punt every play. And it was just take it to the house, line up for a fake punt, and it was the first video game that talked. And it would go, "It's first down, and I can't believe it." You run that fake punt. "It's first down, and I can't believe it." Okay. I think we covered all that. Do we want to look any more at Arkansas State? I mean, we talked pretty good about them. They run a 4-2-5 defense. A lot of the stuff that Sam Pittman that they practice, they spent 5 different days working on Arkansas State stuff, not solely the whole practice, but they had segments of practice dedicated to working on Arkansas State. What they saw in the game is very similar to some of the things that they practice. Obviously, some new stuff. They have some new coaches and stuff like that. Defensive tackles, as Kevin Bohannon puts, 274 and 297. Defensive ends, 240, 250. So not a massive defensive line. But that's what you would expect. I mean, that's going to be the difference a lot of times is the defensive line and offensive line when you get to, G5 program versus SEC program. But that quarterback is really good. I mean, they're going to have to get some pressure on him. 26 of 32 passing, 345 and 3 touchdowns. I don't care who you're playing. That's a strong outing. And he can move, being athletic and, he's not huge, 6 foot 200, but being athletic and able to run. They've got Jaquez Cruz. That deal's so interesting to me because he did, let's see. He finished with 26 rushing yards, had 33 receiving yards, caught 8 passes, and had 1 touchdown. But he was a pretty prolific wide receiver. And then went to Purdue and only caught 2 passes. So no, that's not right. That's not right. Okay, I'm reading that wrong. Sorry. He went to Purdue and then came back to Jonesboro. Corey Rucker, that's who I meant. Corey Rucker started his career at Arkansas State in 2020. Averaged 28.3 yards per catch and 5 touchdowns. My apologies. Got to do a little bit more research on this team, which I haven't done. We'll have more on the primer. Had 59 on Thursday at noon. Had 59 catches for 826 yards in 2021. And then he went to South Carolina. That's right. Went to South Carolina, had 1 catch for 52 yards and a touchdown in 2 games. Went back to Jonesboro. He caught 105 passes for 1,738 yards over the past 2 seasons. So they've got a weapon there. And Jaquez Cruz is also good. So what did Rucker do on Saturday? Only 2 catches for 59 yards, touchdown. 29.5, that's on par for that average. Okay, so my bad on that. Nigel Nelson, 10 tackles to lead them. No other stats. 5'11", 226-pounder, linebacker, number 22, so keep an eye out for him. Keep an eye out for Terry Kirksey, who had 8 stops on Saturday, 6'3", 242-pound linebacker. Okay. I think we covered everything. 1,700 people on here watching live right now. Appreciate all of you guys for hopping on and watching the show. A lot of people commented on my lack of endurance. I might have packed on a couple of pounds in the walk and talk. It is hard walking uphill and talking the whole time with 20 pounds on your back. It's not an excuse. I'll get better. I'll get better with our ad read and all that stuff too. Maybe we move that to the front of the show just to keep the flow going. I'm open to ideas. But, it probably cost me probably averages about $1,500 for every road trip I go when you include, rental car or Turo or Uber, the flight, a couple nights in a hotel, all that kind of stuff. Tennessee was a fortune to go to schedule that trip to Knoxville. And I could always stay home now, because everything is done from, I can watch the press conference. That used not to be a thing, by the way, until COVID. But I can watch the press conference. I get all the stats. I get all the information I need, watch on TV, get more work done because I'm not traveling. But I go, and I used to go to all the road games, and the last few years I stay back for a couple. But the reason I go to road games really is because people like the walk and talk. So I do appreciate Sutherland's for sponsoring us. And I mean, it's better doing the walk and talk on site. I think we can all agree on that versus me doing it in my neighborhood. So I am thankful to Sutherland's for sponsoring us and allowing us to do that. I am going to look at moving that ad read maybe to the to the front of the show, just to kind of keep the flow going a little bit better. But they're big Razorback fans, and I really appreciate them, wanting to support the big walk and talk fans too. So check out our buddies over at Sutherland's. And what else did I want to say? Got to get the cardio up. I'll do that. Be back with you guys on Thursday for the primer. I'm going to try to get somebody from Arkansas State to hop on the show and give us a little bit of insight. Somebody who covers Arkansas State, give us a little bit of insight on that. And we'll have Kevin Bohannon on also. He always provides great insight on football. And yeah, I'll be going down. I'll probably drive down day of, since it's 4 o'clock game. I'll probably drive down day of. This is on SEC Network Plus, so it's not on your regular channel guide. Probably drive down day of the game, spend the night in Little Rock, come back on Sunday. Walk and talk Saturday, of course. Thanks to Danny West. Thanks to Connor Goodson. Appreciate all of our sponsors. And, of course, HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain team. That's it. That's the show today. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.